Warning: the views and opinions expressed in this program are our own and/or those of our guests. They do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of our employers. Viewers' discretion is advised.
Individual deal doesn't really matter. It's more about, are you consistently working on 15, 20, 25 different opportunities?
Support group and who your boss is and how they support you is extremely important.
Really start from scratch and build that up in a year. That is very, very impressive.
It's funny because I'm Persian, but I'm like 0 for 6 on deals with Persian clients. So I guess maybe
Same here,
sometimes I
brother.
don't fully
Hey,
understand
join the
what they're
crowd, man.
for.
With my own people,
Yeah.
I am like,
I might go for 30.
20.
I might go for 30.
No.
I will tell you, DP with a button-up on is a vibe. I like it.
Hey, you know, things you got to do, try to get a deal approved. That's what you do, right?
Andrew's got a button-up on. It's great. It's a great day for a button-up. Button-ups hate to see an Asian coming today.
Hey.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the BDO Show, a podcast for BDOs by BDOs. I'm your host, Emily Detor, and I'm here with my fellow co-hosts, Daniel Park, Chung, and Andrew Chong. At the beginning of each episode, we're always going to remind you to like, subscribe, smash the like button, and send your topics and suggestions to the BDO Show at artofsba.com. BDOs. Have you ever had a borrower bring in like a brother-in-law to do their life insurance? Doesn't end well, does it? We've all been there. When you require life insurance on your SBA loan, it's critical that you bring in a company that specializes in getting these policies in place for the SBA loans. The last thing you want is for life insurance to be the holdup. We all know that's a rookie mistake. SBA Protection Quick Close Life Insurance is the fastest, easiest way to secure the insurance protection that your borrower needs for their SBA loan. Their process is simple, hassle-free, and only takes a few minutes of your borrower's time. No lengthy paperwork, no complicated forms. They even have programs that don't require labs or doctor records for approval. And best of all, you will have the collateral assignment back in less than 24 hours. It's a no-brainer. Go to sbaprotection.com for more information or email Adam Bergen at adam@sbaprotection.com. Okay, guys, today's episode, we have a repeat offender, a return guest.
Hey.
Cam Nayebi is here with us. We love Cam. He's a great spirit. His career is doing so wonderful. He's about a year into being a full-fledged BDO, coming from BDA role, which he started in November of 2023. You know, the last time we talked to him, we were at our previous episode, we had him here. I think it was in like May or like, oh no, maybe it was in March. He was kind of sharing how he structured his day, how his momentum was being built up, how he discovered his niche. We kind of dug into the importance of mentorship as well. And then we just talked about numbers and how he has really created visibility inside of his firm and among his peers and referral sources. So Cam, give us a quick recap how your first year has gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me on again. It's definitely been a fast-moving year, a lot of change. Last time we talked, I think, was in March, probably the end of Q1, and that was my first quarter being a full-time BDO. It's definitely been a crazy year, I think, for everybody in lending and commercial and banking. A lot of ups and downs.
Especially the last 40
being
days.
kind of more on my own this
Yeah.
year. Yeah, literally the last 40 days. So it's been a lot, and it's been one of those, I think, markets where I continue to tell myself, like, if you can build something now, when things are a little bit more seamless, then it's going to be a lot easier. So it's been great. Last year, finished the year as a BDA with around 13 million in production.
And you won a Coleman
This
Award,
year,
I remember.
I did win a Coleman Award. I won a Coleman Award,
There you go.
and that was a good way to end the year. And then this year, I'll be wrapping up a little bit over 30 million in production between
Wow.
7A,
Nice.
504, and conventional.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's been great. It's been great, and want to just keep building on that momentum.
I also want to talk about, because in the last episode, we gave a lot of credit to Shatterbox because they were you're kind of like your trainer. It was a course quickly. Like, can you talk a little bit about what they have done post success? Have they still been there for you?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think Chatterbox It's a long term. I mean, obviously, the coursework is a 1 year thing, right? But the relationships you build, I tell people that's also a big underrated part of the program is it's almost like you're in like some sort of fraternity with these people who are also in Chatterbox at the same time as you, right? And you're going through the motions, you're all learning together, kind of experiencing the same pain points, and after it's said and done, it's not like you just don't talk to those people. You keep those relationships. Um, some people evolve into credit roles, some people evolve into more sales type, and you keep those relationships. And obviously, Dustin, Shane, Mark at Chatterbox continue to keep up. How can we help expand? How can we help grow off what has been working the past 18 months? Um, and they've been great. They've been great. Whatever I've needed, we still talk on a monthly basis, and they've definitely helped me in terms of making introductions where it makes sense to people that might be good referral sources, over the next few years.
I'll tell you what, Cam, I actually saw your last episode before. Very impressive. So, kind of looking back from back then to now, are there any changes, or is this basically what you're doing? You keep what you're doing now, or have you made any adjustments to from what you've done in the past to now?
I think it's a great question. I think
Yeah, thank you.
I think the main changes have been I think I think the main changes have been patience. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that individual deal doesn't really matter. It's more about, are you consistently working on 15, 20, 25 different opportunities, because a lot of stuff is going to happen that's out of your control.
Yeah,
I've
man, it's a
lost
numbers game. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've lost like 5 to 7 million in great deals because of environmentals alone this year. So I
Mm-hmm.
think just
Mm.
understanding that there's going to be things that you can control and there's going to be things that you can't. If you have more deals in your pipeline, you're not going to be fragile when something doesn't go your way, or if someone's shopping you, which I've seen a lot more shopping, for example, this year than last year. And it's
Mm-hmm.
partially because, like last year I was doing deals that really only fit the 7A projection based bucket at harvest, but now as my referral
Mm-hmm.
sources have gotten better, the types of deals I've been getting have been better, which means that I'm going to be competing with other lenders more frequently. So I think understanding sort of where to bite and where to not bite is important. And then I think lastly, just understanding that referral partners can go either way, and you shouldn't depend on a singular one or singular two for a majority of your business.
Yeah, man. You mentioned that you're going to be doing almost 30 million your second year alone, man. That is freaking insane, brother. Those are
Bananas.
unicorn numbers, man. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Great.
my second year, and I did maybe like 5 or 6 million bucks. So you're doing something right for sure. You know.
Thank you, brother.
How
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, I've had a lot of people to look up to. I've
Uh-huh.
had a lot I mean, I've been really, like, ever since
you're
the
around the
day
best
I
of the best and they want you to
Oh,
be
yeah.
your best. Like they don't want to take away, they want to add. And that's what I've noticed with this group that we're around is those men and women as BDOs are 100% mentors. Like they're not trying to say, "Nope, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy." They're like, "I have time for you." And they always will and they
Right.
always have. So it's awesome.
Yep.
I agree with that.
No, that's spot on. That's spot on, and that's kind of how it's been for me. Even in my family, I have 12, 15 cousins, majority guys, and they're all 10 years older than me, and I say, "Okay, well,
Hmm.
I have 10 to 15 opportunities to see what to do and what not to do in my not only career but also personal life when I look at the people around me." So it's been kind of the same concept with, SBAs from the second I got in, within I think 2 months I went to multiple events where I was around, a lot of big hitters, and for me, when you see something that's working, there's no reason to change it. So I've just been basically, you know, being a sponge to people like the people on this call, the people that are clearly doing well year after year after year. And I think consistency is something that I value a lot. So, I'm happy that, it's been a good year, but I think, it's really showing if you can do it 3, 4, 5 years in a row. Because I think anybody can have like a singular good year. So I think that's been most important for me, is just studying the people who are doing well, and
Mhm.
they have the same opportunity that I have. They may have more experience, but being 25 years old, I have more availability. I can answer the phone at 11 o'clock if you call. I don't have kids, so I think playing to your strengths is important, and understanding that you have value to bring if you can just be knowledgeable about your product.
What type of industries are you focusing on, or is it just kind of your generalist on that side of things?
I would say I've kind of got a good grip on what Harvest likes to see, and we're pretty agnostic, but I would say hospitality's been an area that's been, it's a grind for us. We try to do like hotels, things like of that nature, hotels, gas stations, C-stores, car wash. We try to do those as 7A, and if it's something that comes to the door and, I know right away that it's not a fit from a 7A perspective and they're going to be wanting 504 or conventional type of pricing, I just immediately don't wanna waste time on it. So I would say I'm a generalist, but I'm very quick to decide, if something's not gonna be worth it, or know if I can't compete pretty fast. I would say automotive, anything automotive-wise has been great because a lot of those folks' tax returns don't look great, and that's a little gap in the market with Harvest that, we can do those types of projection-based deals. Daycare, childcare, those are great for us. Anything like wellness centers, things of that nature. But I would say pretty agnostic. I've done a lot of restaurants too, a lot of restaurants. And that's been, those are hit or miss. You just got to be selective with them
Yeah.
because there's just a lot of them out there. But yeah, I would say I try to steer away from hospitality and be open to basically anything else. And if it is something that's hospitality and they're okay with 7A pricing, I'll give it a crack or I'll send it to DP.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's music to Daniel's ears when you say that. Stay away from hospitality. Stay in your lane, bro.
Hey, I saw you
That's
smile.
Hey, from the previous episode, Cam, I know you talked about being consistent, structure. Those are like your two main pillars that kind of took you where you're at now. Is that still the same, or have you implemented anything else to that, or is that basically what's keeping you successful here?
Yeah, I would say being consistent in terms of trying to continue to really, really understand where I'm spending my time. I'm
Hmm.
really trying to not spend as much time on singular deals, like getting really in the weeds unless I need to. And Harvest has been great enough to be able to provide me and others on our team with um, BDCs, which are business development coordinators that will come in and sort of partner with us on these deals and be our right hand.
Hmm.
And whether it's uploading the file into Salesforce or, taking care of underwriting lists, doing things that do take a lot of time but aren't
Hmm.
necessarily like revenue generating activities. So I think if I want to go, make the jump from 30 this year to 50 next year, like I know we've
Hmm.
spoken about is my goal for next year, it's going to come down to what I'm, like scaling, right? And I'm not going to be able to be in the weeds
Yeah.
on all 30 deals that you're working on because you're not going to have any time to go get new business. And I learned
Right.
that earlier on the year. Like I had a big pipeline coming in from the back half of last year, and I closed a lot in Q1, but I was so focused on those deals that Q2 of this year, I had to go rebuild my pipeline. I didn't want to have to do that again. So, I think
Yeah.
consistency, but also really honing in on like where am I spending every hour? Just because I work a lot of hours doesn't mean that all those hours are going towards things that are really beneficial. So, just
Yeah.
trying to not, trick myself a little bit, I guess in a way. But yeah, that's kind of the main goal for this next year is just really trying to do more business generating activities.
Okay, BDOs, it's story time. And no, I am not talking about the time Sterling tried to finance a zoo. You'll have to go back to episode 3 for that. I'm talking about the story that your borrower has in their head and they may need that extra boost to finally get it onto paper. Rapid Business Plans is a known and trusted partner that can help them do just that. Whether your borrowers are working towards acquiring a business, starting one up, or expanding and making moves, within just a few short days, Rapid Business Plans will deliver powerful, fast, SBA and USDA ready business plans with projections and assumptions. If they need an export business plan for an ITL loan or a feasibility study, they have you covered there too. We know this process is not a walk in the park, or should I say zoo? Let the Rapid Business Plans team take some of the wild out of the process so that your borrower's vision and passions can come to life. For more information or to get acquainted, email Bethany McClellan at bethany@rapidbusinessplans.com or click the link in the show notes.
Yeah, support group I think is huge. It's huge. I mean, we all have been doing this for a while, and if you get too much in the weeds, and you just like what happened to you, your pipeline dries up, and there's a gap. You can almost see, if you have a gap that you probably closed a bunch a couple months beforehand, right? So I think support group and who your boss is and how they support you is extremely important. I mean, who your boss is everything really when it comes down to it, right?
That's so true. That's so true. And I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's also really important when you're starting out. You kind of become crafted to your manager's style, you know.
Right.
Especially for someone like me where you only know what you know, right? So whatever information or feedback your manager's giving you is really all you have to work off of, right? So I think I was very lucky. I had a I have a phenomenal RSM and national sales manager. They both just really let me do my thing. Even when I was a BDA, really let me do my thing. Really let
Hmm.
me try to figure that part out. Rhonda, Marin, and Todd Massis like obviously work closer hand in hand with my RSM, which was Rhonda, and she, obviously at the beginning, you're calling 3, 4 times a day. What is SBA? What is Harvest? Where are we positioned? Who am I supposed to talk to? And then after time, now actually I'm the one who calls Rhonda probably more often to check in with her, because she
Hmm.
just understands that, you know, I'm doing my thing, and if the numbers are coming through, there's no reason to micromanage. That's sort of why I wanted to be in this role anyways, is because I don't really believe in micromanaging, and Todd's the same way. If you're producing, takes
Yeah.
great care of you, and we don't have any problems. So, yeah, it was great because I remember I first started, and I went to Rhonda in the first couple of months, and I said, I want to start a self storage vertical. And I came back to her in like 45 days and I was like, I don't want to start a self storage vertical. So I realized that,
Yeah,
you learn
tough.
those things quick, but you fail quick, right? And there's still things that I try to this day, like part of processes or trying to automate certain tasks. And I realized maybe I shouldn't do that, right? Like for example, you can any of us could go get somebody to manage our inbox, but for me, the way I respond to emails, like in a certain nature, is actually part of
Yeah.
my value add. I can't really automate that type of stuff, right? So, um,
Yeah.
I think knowing where to double down and knowing where not to double down is important too.
Yeah, as somebody younger, because I'm an old guy. I mean, these other guys are old too. So,
Hey, speak for
have
yourself,
you been
man. What,
using?
what are you talking about?
Don't call yourselves old.
You're a
I
little
will
bit
use
younger
it.
than me. So, have you looked into like AI as something that you can leverage? I know obviously you're talking about the email side of things. That makes a lot of sense. I'm the same way, right? If anything, your people know you will be like, hey, why are someone get hack you or something? Because the way you responded doesn't make sense, right?
Right,
Have you tried
right.
to look into like using like AI as something that to kind of help you? Because I know some folks that do that, and I'm looking to perhaps jump into that side of things because I think a lot of the younger folks are it's easier for them to do it because they're just more entrepreneurial that way.
Yeah, AI is a topic that I can talk all day about. I'm pretty passionate about it. I think there's a massive opportunity there, especially in our industry being relatively run, in a lot of ways. I think we can probably all agree, inefficiently.
Mhm.
Whether it comes to the underwriting process or some certain closing processes or gathering docs, or generating even stuff before you're submitting a deal, right? Generating your credit memo and your narrative. I think it's one of those things where it's as good as you make it, it's as good as how
Yep.
you communicate to it, and I think there's a massive potential. Right now, I would say I'm testing out a lot of things. I'm testing out, for example, how, potential ways to, accelerate document collection, potential ways to maybe draft the upfront narrative a little bit quicker, than having to go through, sets of phone calls with the borrower and take handwritten notes. But I also think that the handwritten notes have their own added value too. I think
Mhm.
that you have to find the right mix because to your point, like for me, I write a lot more wordier, friendlier emails than the traditional banker, and that's just who I am, and that's probably why I didn't make it in investment banking. But that's just I like to be super super friendly and super like super wordy compared to the guy who's just like please fix right. Um, And so to your point, I think that within the next 12 months, use cases will come out. Even something simple like collecting a preliminary loan application. Right now, for us, it's like, we'll send them a PDF, and
Hmm.
sometimes the PDF doesn't parse all the information correctly, and then they
Right.
have to write it down, and they send me a picture of it, and I scan it, and it's you know those things I think all are going to be wiped out in the next 12 months. I think a lot of that's going to be digitized. I know, like for Harvest, we've invested in proprietary CRM that sort of links all of our
Hmm.
backend together, and we're continuing to try to work on that. So I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the next 12 months with people learning how to adopt it.
Actually, I'm very impressed with Cam and what he's done for his first year, second year, because I come from a totally different background. When I started BDOing in 2005, I had been a manager of a small department at a small bank for 5 years. And I had all these contacts with me, brokers that I've been working with. And I thought they were all just going to come along. Needless to say, they didn't. So I sort of had to develop, out of the 20 brokers that I thought would just come my way, I had to work on 5 or 6 of them. And it took me about a year to build up. Having been an SBA manager for 5 and had
Yeah.
all these who I thought was loyal to me, all these brokers.
Hmm.
And some of them were, and some were friends, but you know, for you to really start from scratch and build that up in a year, that is very, very impressive, in my opinion. I mean, to tell you a bit of my story, so in 2006 and 7, I thrived. Okay, so I got to 5 million, 50 million, 26, 28, like that. And then 2008
And
came. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, and you'll just continue to grow your volume, continuously.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's a good point, and I've realized that about brokers too, is they're good for what they're good for, and
yep.
I think that kind of brings up something that I've been another thing that's been on my mind is trying to just go directly to borrowers.
Yeah.
Eventually, like that would be a great goal of mine.
Hmm.
Would be to just have enough positive deals where I can really start going direct to borrowers or saying, hey, hey, go to someone who I've helped with and ask them for, their referral contacts, because brokers are good. I think it's important to diversify. At Harvest, we're trained to go after bankers because we're non-bank and we're not competing with them.
Right.
We're actually helping them. But I think it's you want to be diverse with it, right? You want to get some bankers, you want to get some commercial real estate brokers, and um, but I think at the end of the day, we have a couple of people that I know that are at the company that just don't pay any referral fees, and they just go straight to borrowers every time. And yeah, their volume might be lower, but um, their margins per deal are a lot higher, right? So
Right.
I think that it's good to try to mix that in when you can. Obviously, like I think in order to hit large numbers, you do need brokers to be involved. Like it's just how the game works. If you want to
Sure.
do 40 million plus, you're gonna have to have some brokers, but yeah,
Yeah.
to your point, it's they're usually not as loyal as they seem.
So I got something for you. So as Andrew mentioned, I mean, dude, 30 million bucks in your second year, that is phenomenal. So obviously you're doing something right, right? You got some sort of secret sauce, whatever you got going on. So how do you sell yourself to your brokers, your COI? I mean, what do you tell them that's different than something that I would say, right?
Yeah, I've had to learn that is, how do I build their trust? Do I tell them how old I am? Do I lie because I have a beard and they'll believe me if I say I'm 35? Um, like like I could probably get away with it. I feel like I've had this beard since I was in like middle of high school, so I can get away with
Hey,
it, but
uh,
He must have
hey,
been
hey,
so
you
low
know,
key,
awkward.
I am so jealous of that beard because it's no shave November. Look at me. This is all I got.
Yeah, dude.
That's hilarious. No, that's good, but
You're like Greg
it's been
Oden over
it's
there.
Andrew, can you grow a beard?
Not really.
Oh man.
It's not in
I
our
was in
DNA.
Japan in December, and I think I was the only person in the whole country that had facial hair. It was pretty funny. Um, but
Yeah.
it is something that I've battled, and I still battle it to this day. Like I was talking to a borrower this morning, local guy in Atlanta. I got referred from a banker. and he straight up, and people usually never ask, how old are you? But he asked me how old I was, and I was like, I gave myself a year. I said I'm 26, but the past 6 months I've become confident enough to know that, like, if you know your stuff and you know you can execute and you know what you're good at, you know what you're bad at,
Yeah.
I have no shame in it, and but I would say it's definitely the first year was something that I battled with heavily. The way I saw myself now is it's all about relatability. Like, I'm ethnic, I'm Persian, I speak Farsi, I understand, like, I've grown around a lot of different ethnic groups, and
You're cultured
probably
and
85.
well-rounded, and so your age doesn't really reflect the age that you
Yeah,
are because you're a little bit more of an old soul. So I feel like that's why you're
right.
connecting. It's all because it's where you came from and how you grew up.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, a lot of people do tell me that. A lot of people tell me, me and my brother, who's 4 or 5 years older than me, that we're old souls. But I think that it just comes to understanding each person. Like, I probably like 80, 85% of my clients are ethnic, so I understand their morals. I understand what they care about.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny because I'm Persian, but I'm like 0 for 6 on deals with Persian clients. So I guess maybe
Same here,
sometimes I
brother.
don't
Hey,
fully
join
understand
join the
what they're
crowd,
looking
man.
for.
With my own people,
Yeah.
I am like 0
I'm gonna
for
go for 30.
20.
I'm gonna go for 30.
No, I might close my first one at the end of this month with, and I straight up told the guy, I was like, man, you got to be really good because I'm like 1 for 7 now. But I think to me, it's understanding each type of people, like, they really care about something different. And if you're
Yeah.
super stagnant, then it's not going to work out for you, or maybe it'll work out in certain situations. But the way I saw myself to brokers
Mhm.
is just, I kind of understand what they really care about, and I speak their lingo, and if I don't, I realize, like, if a guy's a jerk, you don't have to work with people. Like, there's nobody forcing me to work
Yeah.
with anyone. So, and that's something that
Right.
really gives me a big peace of mind, because I look around in a lot of other roles, and you don't have that type of control to be able to choose who you want to work with. But in this
Yeah.
job, if you don't want to work with someone, there's no one forcing you to. So I think that's really important.
If something's a jerk in this business, it gets around pretty quickly. I mean, it gets around very quickly. Everyone kind of knows that side of things.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying on that side. I always used to think, and I'm throwing out to you guys. I always used to think, if you have 6 or 8 good brokers in that pool, right? Then you have bankers, then you have other CPAs, whatever, give you deals, right? I think if you have like 68 good brokers and you can kind of sell like, hey, look, I just want to be the first look. And by the way, if I can't, place it here, I know where it probably will go, and I'll give you that information. That way, you're always you're helping them, right? Make their money, right? Making it easier for them. At the same time, you're always the first look, right? You can kind of guide that path. And one thing that I did when I was first started is was a kind of untapped thing. Is like a bunch of residential brokers, right? They only know what they know. I'm saying, hey, what are you doing with your commercial deals? I mean, these guys own businesses. What are you doing with those deals? And they're like, I send it to my banker, or that banker's probably not an SBA lender or anything like that. So I'd be like, hey, why don't you just give me a shot? Send me those deals.
Right.
And if you know, brokers, like in anything else, they can be good or bad, right? Resi brokers, same way, right? So if they're good and then they know enough
Hmm.
about the financial side of things,
Right.
they're not looking at we're not looking at debt income and all those kind of things. You know what I mean? We're looking at something completely different. And then once they get their first check, they're like, wow, I have to do anything. And you always
Yeah.
frame it like,
Right.
obviously, like, hey, I get you involved as you want to. I can keep you CC'd on emails, or I can just surprise you with the check. What do you want to do? Right. But I got to get
Right.
them out of the way. You always got to get them out of the way. Right. Just be
You
like, I
do.
need direct access to the borrower, or this is just not going to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because if you're looking for problems while you're doing SBA loan, you're gonna find them.
Yeah.
So, and their process is what I've also understood is very different. It's cheaper, it's faster. So you can tell them, yeah, appraisal is gonna be 3 grand. They're like fall out of their chair, right? So to your point, like, you do have to
Yeah.
tell them. You got to set expectations, but the best expectation is just like, trust me, I'll send you updates. I even do that with some of the commercial brokers. I'm like,
Yeah.
they're some of them are even worse, and I just say, look, I'll hit you up when it's time to get paid. Obviously there's some of them where they don't, they're control freaks, right? And those are typically the tougher ones to deal with. But and what I've also done is, like, early on in my career, when there was someone tough to work with, but they were bringing also too much value for me to be able to afford to lose their business. Like, I would give myself
Yeah.
a goal,
Hmm.
right? So when I hit 25 million, this guy's cut off. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I don't have to put up with his BS anymore. And then I can
Yeah.
I can start making time for new people, because what I also realize is you think that everybody knows about Harvest or everybody knows about SBA, but there's actually a lot of people who don't, even to this day.
Yeah,
And
they
so
don't.
that's been a big thing for me is just like giving myself goals and incentives to say, okay, you don't want to put up with this guy forever, but you got to earn it. You got to earn the right to move forward.
Yeah, I did it differently. I just bit my tongue for a long time just because I didn't, you know what I mean? I was like, you know what? This is horrible. I mean, the person would never know I didn't really care for them, but you just kind
Right,
of bit
right.
the bullet for a while, right? And you're right. You got to diversify. You got to diversify your portfolio of who you sends you transactions, and we all work a lot. So in a perfect world, you work with people you actually like, right? So you're right. I mean, you have that luxury. I'll be honest, when I was younger, I didn't have that luxury because I was like, oh man, I really hate this person, but this feels so good. So it's big, right? So I gotta get this thing
Yeah.
done. But yeah, I think things have, obviously changed for a lot of us. And about you lying about your age, we all do, but we all do the other way. We're always saying we're younger than we are. But
That's
yeah, that's
good.
great. I mean, I think it's a great story. I mean, I think
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I think you'll find that the biggest producers, the people that have a good reputation in this business, are always willing to help each other, right? We always do. I think that's what's cool about what we do, right? We always, obviously, there's always a little bit of, not to say hate, but envy. If somebody else starts winning deals over you on certain things, but the way I see it is like, at least I know that person, and that's a good person, right? And if they're getting paid on it, great. Rather than Joe Schmo that I don't know, you know what I mean? That just throws themselves out there and just throws out LOIs at any deal that comes across their desk before they even look at it, right? And I think that's a problem we all have, right? Is that there's so much misinformation out there. People, I don't know how many times, not to bag up big banks, but I don't know how many times I get in front of a borrower and they're at the point like, oh my God, B of A is my bank. I've been there 20 years. And man, they really just, they didn't tell me no. They just kept me, going on. It's like, for months, and now I need to close, right? So I mean,
Right.
it's great for us, right? We pick up deals, but at the same time, it's almost like they're not even happy when they close with you because they're really pissed about whatever happened. So
Exactly. That's so well said. Yeah, but it's like by the time you're on board, there's no margin for error. I mean, that's
yeah,
that because we're typically the second or third option too, and yeah, it's
Hey, I want to address something in the elephant in the room here. The whole shutdown thing, right? So
You
as of
survived.
today, November 13th, we survived. We are open for biz now. Um, during the shutdown, uh, how did you deal with your customers and your brokers? Because I'm sure you're getting a ton of calls, right, about that.
I'm
So what are you
sure.
telling these guys? I mean,
I'm sure he probably had to talk to some seasoned people who have been through one before. Like, what do I do? What do I say?
Y- yeah, man, because this is I think was the longest one, right?
In
Yeah, I
history.
think it
that was the
was.
longest one.
Yeah,
It was definitely a grind. I would say like this quarter was gonna be the biggest quarter of my year, and it's probably gonna be the smallest now, which is fine because I'll start good next year.
right.
But you know, I think repositioning and just it's about framing, right, to your clients. Like the ones that are, under a purchase contract, those are gonna be most priority, right? Is the guy who's just refining or
Yeah.
pulling cash out, like he can deal with it. But the guys who are like under contract, those are people they have real money on the line, right? They have, you
yeah,
know,
Mhm.
money going hard and um I think it's honestly the fact that this was so publicized is actually to our benefit because, you know, really the main everything I've been telling people in one sentence is if you go to the bank down the street that does SBA, they're going to tell you the same thing,
It
right?
is the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, we have an advantage at Harvest being able to do conventional. So I tried to market that the past 40 days as much as I
Yeah.
could.
yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
got some deals through the door, and we'll see, if they stick around now that the government's open. But you got to play to your strengths. You know what I mean? You got to be able to tell them, hey, we have this option. We may be able to get you in a bridge. I think just trying to provide them with options and reminding them that they're working with you for a reason, and we've already gotten to closing, for example, for a reason. Um, so I think also communicating to the sell side, like this morning, I went and had 6 or 7 deals that were kind of either about to be in closing or in closing, and I just sent, kind of like a templated email out, said, hey, I know we've all been aware about the shutdown. It's now open. Processing times are going to be delayed a little bit. Like we're going to try to close the ones that
Right.
are really close by the end of the month. But setting expectations, which is really something that I'm trying to keep getting better at, is just setting those expectations. Because sometimes I'll find myself like setting an expectation that may be too good, and then it'll like I'll force myself to overwork so I can meet that. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But I would say during the shutdown, yeah, you just be transparent with people, because they can I think the ability to just say, look, you can talk to whoever you want, they're going to tell you what I'm telling you, is just like
Mhm.
they realize, okay, well, I guess I shouldn't spin my wheels in a thousand places. But it's definitely been one of those times where I'm like, man, like this is why you got to take advantage of it when it's there, because you never know when the opportunity is not going to be there. You never know when your banks can get sold. You never know when you know you have to do some restructuring within your role. You just never know. Like, I remember I think there was like threats of one happening at some point last year. There was something, some news about it, and the one that never happened last year, earlier this year, and like my mindset after that really was just, this could happen any Friday. It could happen at the end of any week. So it's kind of also a reason why I go so hard, is because I just don't take the opportunity for granted. Because I think for someone who found this role at a young age, I'm pretty lucky, and a lot of people, they don't find it until they've experienced some other areas of the world.
Yeah, I think it's great that you communicated that. And you know what I mean? Because yes, you're right. I think in general, the general public, this was much more publicized. Everyone kind of knew the government was shut down because, you know, obviously a lot of other things were affected, not just SBA, right? And
Right,
in the last couple of weeks, I got introduced to so many borrowers, and they're like, "Hey, my banker just went completely quiet." I'm like, "Well, you know what's going on, right? They can't close anyway, but they should probably tell you that, right? I don't know if there's another
right,
issue or not, but you know, one issue is, the big one, whereas they can't even, pull a PLP number and do these things, right? Just so you know, right?
Right.
And they felt much better, right? And the other banker probably win the deal, but at least they felt a little bit better because albeit we're all in for the companies we work for ourselves, for our families, and whatever our loved ones. But at the same time, I think SBA as a whole has always gotten such a bad rap on certain things. Like, oh man, the paperwork is just horrible. I hear it's gonna take like 6 months. I'm like, no, it's really not how it is. You know what I mean? So I
right,
think communicating to people as a whole, I think it's really important, right? Because this is what we do.
right. And it takes 30 seconds to draft one of those emails, and just
Exactly.
shoot it over to them. It gives them a peace of mind.
Man,
Yeah, for
I tell
sure.
you what, Cam, your answers are spot on. It's almost like you're like Cam GPT. I swear, man. Like the stuff that we're asking, you're just spot on it, and they're genuine, they're authentic.
This is
Uh,
why
Yeah.
Cam's doing so well. He's smart, he's
y-
articulated, he is
Yeah.
just got
yeah,
drive,
dude.
motivation, and he's been mentored
Thank you,
by
guys.
wonderful people, and he's
And he's
got
only
a
18
Yeah.
long
too.
Todd's a
road of
great person, by
success.
the way. Todd's a
So
great person, by the way. I've known Todd Masses for God knows how long. It's longer than
Oh,
I
Oh,
have.
that
really?
guy
But
is like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, he's the
the
man.
wizard.
Todd
He's the
and Adam,
man.
Yeah.
actually.
Cam, wonderful episode as always. I'd love to have you back on again in the future. We can do maybe another 7-month check-in. Um, Congratulations on just your success and your motivation and your drive, because it's everyone's noticing it. So I'm happy for you,
Thank you.
bud. But
I
everybody,
appreciate it.
thank you for joining in on the episode today. We will see you guys next time. I will be on the podcast from now on from Tennessee. So this will be my last time in this office. But anyways, all right, guys, thank you for listening in today. It was a great episode, Cam. We loved having you on. And don't forget to send in topics and suggestions to the BDO Show at artofsba.com. And we will see you next time.